Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Today I want to talk about Fairy Opal. We'll jump online and have a look at a few other places and a few other options to have a good gauge of prices, and we'll have a really good close-up look at these because they are absolutely amazing, this stone in particular. So this parcel I recently bought from Nathan and Liz over at Luck Opals, newluckopals.com.au. So they've launched a website. They are just top quality people. Nathan in particular I talk to all the time. We've got very common interest in terms of music and opal, and these two are also incredibly hardworking, so they dig this stuff out of the ground, and Nathan has a very good treatment method, and I've got to say it's probably one of the best, if not the best, for matrix opal, particularly fairy opal, even if it is really loose. If you have a really close look at this, and I'll zoom in a little bit more in a sec, you will see that not only is there amazing color, if we have a close look even on the back, you'll see that there is very little to no pitting. The back doesn't matter so much, though if he does do a double-sided stone, he makes sure it's absolutely spot on both sides. And this method will be coming up on the channel. I had to pause the treatment methods because of the house move and the lack of workshop due to the dodgy concreter. More progress coming up on that very soon. But this method, I've written up a pretty lengthy document on it, giving it full detail, because it's one of those ones that you just have to consider. If you're going to do this work, you have to consider it because it has got to be one of the best out there. Yes, it is not the easiest method in the world. It is a bit more complicated than just coating something with a bit of glue, but trust me, it pays off so well. And of course you need good material for it as well, though he has treated some of the absolute horror material and it still holds together really well. It really is a proper stabilization. A lot of people will just coat their opal and you'll just get a couple millimeters deep, but Nathan, as a ex-chef, he loves his cooking and he loves cooking his opal as well. It's quite spectacular, the result that he gets, and consistently. And his cutting and shaping skills are also really good too. These cabs I'm going to use, and I'll be able to set them quite easily. This one is more of a challenge stone, so this is a big chunky boy, not super even edged, so that one's going to take a little bit of work to get it bezel fit pretty well. And this is one of those examples where even though the other side doesn't have a lot of color, he's taken the time to really give that a pretty good finish as well, not just the front face. And of course, since they're mining and pulling stuff out of the ground is always a little bit unpredictable, so not every stone is the same. In fact, every stone is completely different, but as you can see here, they can get some conglomerate material as well. And I should really have gloves or tissues to just shine these ones up because I have been playing around with them since I unboxed them. But yeah, absolutely amazing stones. I think we'll have a closer look at this one and then we can jump online and have a look at Fairy Opal in general. Okay, so here we are with a much closer look under the macro lens. And you can see this is it's just got all the colours, a nice distribution. Just like most other Australian opals, you've got the red as the most rare kind of colour, but this one is, yeah, at certain angles it can definitely be dominated by the red. It's a very red heavy face, which of course people really like. I like the fact that this stone has got that nice RGB. The red, green and blue are all battling it out. They're all there. The stone is wonderfully cut, wonderfully finished. This will be a dream to set. Even someone with very little skill like me will be able to get a good bezel setting done on this one. And you can see if we just follow the light around, there are no pits. Very commonly you'll see a lot of pitting in a lot of other stones because when you do the coating and then you just scrub it up and polish it, you can always get it a little bit loose and a little bit pitted. There might be one tiny one just over here. And believe it or not, the pricing of this stuff is like 150 bucks a stone. And this isn't even the top grade material that he's got. This is just one that I really like. The jeweler's parcel that he sold was the very evenly cut and very consistently good looking stones. So I decided to pick those up because I want to bezel set them. And honestly, if you can bezel set them well and make these big chunky pendants, that's it on my finger. It would make a huge ring stone, but this is definitely pendant sized. When you get good at that, you'll be easily able to set these and then it's just instant profits from there. I've paid more than 150 bucks for single carats in a lot of Cuba Pedy and Lightning Ridge material. The fact that you can get this huge boy for 150 bucks is pretty cool. I don't want to get into the stabilization technique itself yet because there will be separate videos on that, and it is quite an involved process. Of course, a lot of cooking, a little bit of pressure work. I'm going to do it more based on vacuum work because that's more my comfort area. I'll tweak the method just a little bit to make it a little more scientific, I guess, better developed. Really crunch the numbers and get it locked down to the best performance. But yeah, Nathan is a ex-chef, and of course, if you want to cook opal, it's not surprising that a chef came up with a really good method. So as much as I can look at this stone all day, let's move on, jump online and just have a look at a few other places, and we should be able to spot a few other things. We might even just have a quick look at their website now. Alright, so here we are. We've jumped over to newluckopals.com.au, their website. Liz has chucked this together, so there's Nathan there. So there's a little bit of about us. There's a shot of their camp. They're doing it for real. They're digging it up themselves, loading it up in the car, taking it home, cooking it up. A lot of the cooking actually is done on camp, but it gets pretty damn hot out there, so take it back home and cook it up, stabilize it, all of that. He's very open with his methods. Tried to teach many people, and I've been lucky enough to be one of those people. So when I do get the setup, you'll see it from step by step, fully detailed, so you'll be able to do it from home. Now, if we jump over to the store, you'll see on this website, he's only got finished stones, a couple of pendants and stuff as well, but mostly it'll just be stones and stone parcels. If you do want rough, you're gonna have to jump over to Facebook, and I can show you where he is on Facebook in a second as well. But let's just have a look, because some of these big parcels, they weren't actually an option. So a standard listing has got just his nice little video showing them all off. So this is a $4,000 parcel, 2,000 carats. So yeah, we're not talking about hundreds per carat, that is certainly for sure. We are not talking solid opals here, we are talking treated matrix opals. He does have some other little bits and pieces of Boulder, it depends on what comes out of the ground, but mostly it is definitely his specialty around matrix opal, the fairy opal in particular. And you can see he's rattling through a lot of these stones, and very consistent. These ones are a little bit lower grade than the ones that I decided to purchase. It comes to a total of 57 finished stones, all under $2 a carat. It's a pretty good deal. But if we go back to all of the listings, you can see there's a wide variety. It's got from the real low budget stuff to the higher budget stuff. The full gambit of matrix opal is covered here. And he did not have anywhere near this many listings when I was having a look. But I did buy one of the jeweler parcels. I was actually very tempted on this one as well. You can see the material comes up quite differently. It's like a lot of opal fields. It comes up with some wild bits and pieces. This one's got little veins running through it. And then you've also got a bunch of the conglomerate style material as well. Again, 80 carats, $280. Pretty cheap per stone. So once you've set those, you can pretty easily get your money back well and truly. Not overly difficult. And you can see every now and then there is just your more standard kind of Boulder opal. Just like here, you've seen a lot of this type of material on my channel. I usually cut quite a lot of that, and normally I will get that kind of material from Nick Hoops, but yeah, every now and then you might find that Nathan and Liz have some of that on their website as well. Now let's jump over to Facebook. Actually, before we jump over to Facebook, one really interesting thing is if you go over here to Torque Forged. This material is so good once treated and stabilized. What John has been able to do over at Torque Forged is create these custom-made little watch housings. So the watch case is all just a piece of opal, as you can see here, chopped, sliced and diced, hand carved, and it's just he cuts quite a lot of material off, and you'll still see that the treatment has penetrated all the way through. This is a proper stabilization. If you've worked on other really crumbly stones before, like fairy opal, I think people talk about turquoise and stuff being similar. It can be super, super crumbly, and if you don't stabilize it, it'll just fall apart. In this case, this just allows you to get a little bit more hardness, more consistency, get rid of all of that pitting. Otherwise, this would be a really rough surface to the touch. It's quite incredible. I didn't even quite believe it the first time I saw it, but this guy, John, over at Torque Forge, he's done a lot of other materials as well, and unless the stabilization was absolutely perfect, this would not be possible. So super cool. One day I probably will end up getting one of these watches, but at the moment it's just amazing to see that it's even possible. Super well done. So jumping over to Facebook, New Luck Opals, same name. Links over to TikTok and all of that kind of stuff if you use it. And then you can see here, this is where they'll actually put up some of the more rough materials. So 4.5 kilos, $500 plus shipping for just a bunch of Boulder material. The classic vein chasers, great for beginners. In fact, I think I might even just buy a massive chunk of this, like a 4.5 kilo one, divide it up, and then just offer these little practice stones for people on the website. I reckon that's a pretty good idea. And I want to do that with a few other Opal sellers as well. So Nathan would be a good one for some Boulder stuff. Of course, Nick Hoops will be there for sure. I'll see if I can get Riley Gunn on board. I know he does killer sales over on Opal Auctions, which is where we'll head next, but it'd be nice to get some of his material on there as well. And then of course Julian for the Cooper Petey, he'll have me covered for that easily. Now scrolling down a bit, you can see he's not sharing the full process here. This is just for the sugar cooking. So you can see there, this is him prepping this block for the watch cases. When he's doing the watches, he takes it real seriously and does like a single block and gives it full attention, because you've got to make sure it gets absolutely perfect when you're going to send it away. But a lot of the time you'll see him doing vats with hundreds of stones in them, just giving him a good cook and then giving him a good stabilization after that. If you scroll around on either New Luck Opals or over on his actual personal Facebook page, you'll definitely come across him talking about the stabilization techniques. And then another thing is that a lot of this setting kind of work is done by a person that, if you've been on Facebook and you love Opal, you've seen his name before, Opalus Maximus. Incredible jeweler. He has just the cleanest setting sometimes. It's really good. There's only a couple people that I've seen rival it, but he does produce some amazing stuff with Opal. It's super cool to have people like that. And then there's heaps of other things where Nathan's put up his little chef's knife. Of course, being a chef, he needs to mix those worlds together. So yeah, little chef knife with a bunch of little opal chips in it. Pretty cool. But anyway, let's have a look at some more fairy opal. There's a little bit on Facebook, but not very much. So it's not overly interesting if you jump over on Marketplace. There's not too many sellers. If you go to some of the Opal pages, you will see a few more. But if you jump onto Opal Auctions and have a look, there's the full range. Once again, not a lot of different sellers. Like the king himself, Cedar's got a few listings up here. So I mean, he's got, between all of his sales channels on Opal Auctions, he's got material from absolutely everywhere. And I mean everywhere, like international. A lot of my international Opal collection is thanks to Cedar. And then there's a few others like October Stoneworks that I'm not overly familiar with, but I did pick out a couple already, so you can see here. And one thing Cedar always does on the listings whenever it's a treated stone, of course, is very transparent about it, but not quite as fully detailed. It says it has been treated with a resin, which gives amazing polish. And if I look at this video, I looped it a few times. I'll see if you guys notice anything with it. I am thinking that this is more of the resin coating style technique rather than the full stabilization. On the face, you can see how it's a little bit uneven in terms of the coating, especially on the edges. You can see those dull patches, the shiny patches. But also, if we can catch it just as it flips over, you'll see that the back doesn't actually seem to be coated either. So that seems like it's just still pretty rough. And then of course, when you look in the drill hole, it's also not penetrating into there. So this is definitely more of a resin coating technique than more of a stabilization through the stone. So that's when you pre-cut the stone, shape it up, get it to a kind of like a pre-polished, semi-polished kind of stage, and then you just paint the resin over the top and seal it up. Probably not as structurally sound as a full stabilization, because the interior of the stone is not overly well held together, it's just binding the surface. It will stop it from rubbing away and getting really dull, but I don't know the actual resin and I don't know how strong it is. This stone in particular is 40 carats, Aussie dollars almost 600, so definitely a lot more expensive, but very similar to one of the better stones that I got from Nathan in this recent parcel. It's got that nice RGB tricolor going on, but slightly red dominant, and you can see very dark where it's been resin coated, and then less so in areas where it's not, especially the back. So pretty interesting. That's the other technique, and you'll see this is way more common. You'll notice that there's always going to be these patches of shiny and not shiny, and then you'll always have areas where if the resin treatment isn't necessary, you'll just see that it is this porous, pitted, rough kind of surface. And then I thought might as well have a look at one of these ones from October Stoneworks. Good old video. So this is a 13 carat, bit of a smaller stone, 386 bucks. A little bit more pricey. This one is also, I would say, resin coated. just because it seems a little bit uneven in terms of the polish, and when I had a look at the back, side looks pretty good, top looks pretty good, but the back looks like it may not be fully sealed up and fully stabilized. Once again, Fairy Opal, pretty much all sourced from Winton, carbon treated, and then yeah, resin sealed. Still not stabilized unless they're just using the wrong term for it, but unfortunately not a lot of info apart from that. Some people like to keep it a little bit secret what they do, which resin they use, all of that kind of stuff, and I understand that. And then the final place, we'll just have a quick look at eBay. I never go on eBay, so it's been a long time. If I just chuck Fairy Opal in and have a little bit of a look, you can see here it's actually quite cheap, but that's still in the rough. Looks like it's been sugar cooked, but that's about it. There actually are a surprising amount of people selling. Oh, unless this is all just one seller, it could be. I mean, this is from the United Kingdom, so that's super interesting. 7 carats, 122 bucks is a little bit pricier, but when you're overseas, Australian Opal is always pricier. And yeah, whoever this is, they're doing a lot of rough. It's rough, but it's already been treated, so that's actually quite handy, though the treatment part is quite easy. It's the stabilization part afterwards that's a little bit difficult. And maybe this is the same seller. Let me just whip open 2 of these. So the rough seller is RS Oz Opal. So yeah, they do sell rough and treated stones, and I wonder if the video will tell us anything about what kind of treatment it's got. I can read the description as well. If we have a look at it, oh, it might be a little bit out of focus, which makes it a bit harder. Oh, and I can see if you go back, so this makes me think it's a little bit of a resin pour onto the face while this was sitting down on a tray or something. You can see these little tags, so these little bits of resin that are kind of peeling off as it's kind of dripped. Yeah, there's a frame there where you can see how it's all puddled and it's been sitting inside of the resin. Just exactly like this, but not water. So I think it's been coated rather than fully stabilized, or it's been stabilized, pulled out, and then just sat somewhere, and some of that has, just as I say that, I can see it has been coated with a clear glass resin. So probably like a liquid glass is typically what people are referring to there. And of course, by liquid glass, I mean that it's probably an epoxy resin. There's an epoxy resin that tried to claim the whole liquid glass kind of name, even though liquid glass is actually there is a liquid glass, which I will show on the channel. It's very different to an epoxy resin liquid glass, that is for sure. Super hard to use, and yeah, not the best. If you can get it to work, it'd be amazing, but getting it to work is pretty tough. So yeah, there is actually a half decent seller on eBay for both rough and treated stones, which is interesting. It's good to see that there is still some good stuff on eBay. So yeah, pretty cool. Fairy Opal. It's such an underrated material. I can see this material going up in price significantly. It's just that people get a bad feel for Fairy Opal when they come across someone that hasn't quite treated it correctly, and they get it and in hand it just doesn't look that great. Or if they're just buying it and it's just looking like this, it's also not overly interesting. This would be the same seller. Oh no, this is another seller. So there's another seller here. Like, having a look at something like this is not quite so impressive, but once it goes black and you get the little speckles of color like I've shown you on mine, it becomes a much more interesting stone. And then when it's also stabilized and can be turned into things like watch faces, like this, it's super interesting. Certainly jump over to New Luck Opals. I have had a quick glance at a lot of the new listings they've got here, and if some of these were up when I did my initial purchase, I probably would have picked up a few other ones. So there are some pretty good parcels here. So definitely check it out. I don't know how long this sale's gonna last. I haven't really talked to Nathan about that. I just knew that he was running a bit of a sale on some of these individual stones. The bigger parcels are not on sale, it seems. But at the same time, why would you put it on sale when it's only $2 per carat and the stones are, yeah, the stones are pretty good. That's $2 a carat for fully stabilized, cut, finished stones. Literally ready for you to start setting, and away you go. I probably will myself be picking up a couple more of these kind of medium grade parcels. So this one here would probably be actually a fair bet that I might end up picking that one up, or definitely something similar. Maybe I can challenge myself and ask him if he's got any more of these heart-shaped ones. I have no idea how I'd set that, which is great because that means I can learn it. Anyway, go check them out, New Luck Opals, over on their website, or jump across to the Facebook page. Even if you're not interested in buying anything, go over anyway, chuck a like on their page, follow it, because he's always releasing a lot of really good material in terms of information on top of the actual Opal material. And if you like info, then it's super good. I'm going to try to really tidy it up and package it up for some very concise videos. And also I'll probably have a write-up on the website as well, because it's a super interesting method and it works incredibly well. Having it in hand, it really does come across as just a really great treatment. And if you can make a watch case from it, like how much better could it get? So stay tuned if you want more of that info from me directly. Otherwise, yeah, jump over to New Luck Opals or talk to Nathan, and he shares that kind of info all the time. Have fun, stay safe, enjoy your carving, and hopefully you come across some gems. See you guys.